Hey guys, hello and welcome. Yes, it's the Pixie and Flo show once again. We are now officially on episode number 3. I'm going to hand it over to you, Flo, my co-host, business partner, and one of my closest friends. Flo is now going to tell us what we're going to be speaking about today.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I'm Flo, and welcome to the show. It's nice to see you again, Pixie. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good, babe. I'm great.
Excellent. So for today's podcast, this is a topic that is really close to me. I wanted to share, it's about mental health, and I want to share living in a community. So when you live in a block of flats and having neighbors and the noises that come with having neighbors, some are inevitable and some are evitable, if that's a word, if that's a verb.
I don't know what that word means, but that's a new word. If
Well,
it's not
it's yeah,
inevitable, it's
it's
evitable.
inevitable, right? I mean, in French, évitable, inévitable, it exists. So there you go. So because it really plays an important role on mental health for me, the main reason why at this time in my life now I'm going back to the countryside is because of living in a neighborhood. So what most people don't seem to understand is that once you are indoors in your own house, you do not become soundless. So if you slam doors, if you drag your furniture around on the floor, if you bang on the walls for God knows what reason, people around you will hear that.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, babe, but can I just
Shh.
cut in because you know
Yeah,
I love interrupting people just for 1 second. Your
yeah.
neighbours are all crazy.
I think so too, yes. I don't understand why they need to move their furniture around all the time, every day at like 11 in the evening. I don't understand that. But this goes with also music and daily stuff. Uh, as a younger man and as a teenager, and we and even adults, we all have that thing where we believe that it's a Saturday night, so it's 9 p.m., it's okay to have a party, and it's okay to have a party. But I don't like that mentality of thinking that it is okay, because I don't believe it is okay anymore, especially these days that we spend more time indoors. We need to be aware that the people around us don't necessarily want to listen to your music. Or so for me, for example, I went and knocked on my neighbor's door on a Sunday afternoon and said, I'm sorry, but could you turn your music down, because that's the only thing I can hear. It was so loud. And he said, yeah, but it's still really early afternoon. And for me, I told him that is actually irrelevant to why I'm asking this. It's first of all, early or late is subjective. Maybe 2 in the afternoon is late for me, but that's irrelevant. What I was trying to tell him is that it's not because it's early in the afternoon that I need to listen to your music. Maybe I want to watch a film. Maybe I want to read a book in silence. So it's not excusable
Mm.
today in the time of day. It's inexcusable. And there are so many things that you can do you don't need to slam doors. You can close them slowly. And for me, for example, in my house, when I close a cupboard door and I slam it by accident, I get a panic attack. Well, I dramatize. I don't. I cannot do, because I
You
think it's
dramatise never. Oh,
because it gives me. I think when you're soft and you do things softly in your house, it plays with your. You know, when you are zen, then you do zen things. If you slam doors and you drag furniture, for me that means that there's some anger inside you. And if you want to drag your chair to sit on it, you can buy those little things, that you put at the bottom of the chair so it doesn't make noise. There are little tips like that. And I think it's very important to consider that other people around you don't necessarily need to listen to. You know what? If you're having a Sunday afternoon party with your friends, invite me, then maybe I'll be able to accept the music.
invite me along at least. Come
Invite
on.
me, and that's
Yeah.
it. But yeah, So I don't know. I would like to get your opinion on that because I know you live in a very quiet neighborhood, which is
Mhm. Yeah,
amazing. I'm quite jealous.
yeah.
So, but have you experienced neighbors doing that to you, and how do you cope with that?
Right, so I'm going to go back. So I'm going to bring up a few things here. So we're talking about respect, and we're also talking about perception,
Yes.
because we all see things from our own level of perception. Now, I've got to be honest, I won't go too much into it, but when I was younger, I used to be the worst neighbour ever. You would not want to have lived next to me because I used to love to have parties all night, all day, for days on end. Everyone would leave a bar, come back to my house, and that was it. And if the neighbours knocked on the door, I'd say, do you want to come in? No, well, I'm not going to turn the music down. I was terrible because I would, how can I put it? My attitude when I was younger is this is my house and I will do what I want in my house. So as I have changed and grown as a person, not just grown in age, but grown, you know, open my own mind, I now understand. And because of the way I live my life now, I like peace and quiet. I'm not the person that I was when I was younger. Therefore, I'm very quiet and respectful to my neighbours. But if I hear something now, well, I've been quite lucky for a long time. I've lived, even before I moved to Spain, I was living in the countryside for years. So I didn't really have many neighbours, and my neighbours would be quiet if I did have them. But for me, home should be a place that is your haven,
Yes.
your place that you feel safe, you feel happy, you are away from, and I don't want this to sound really dramatic as in away from harm, like you're going to be attacked or something, but it should be your safe haven in a place that your mind emotionally and mentally should be very calm when you're at home. You shouldn't be getting triggered by your neighbours. You know, we have enough of that in the outside world. So when we're at home, that's when we're in our little cocoon of safety, I'm going to say,
Yeah.
and we should be comfortable and feel nice. And if we want to, it's very difficult because, you know, some people do want to socialize. And if I go back to how I was when I was younger and I had that really, I'm going to say, stinking attitude towards anyone around me, no, it was like,
Yes.
I'm living my life, I'll do what I want to do. And when I was younger, you could not tell me, even if people say, oh, but your neighbours, I'd be like, my house, they shouldn't have moved next door to me if they don't like the noise. My attitude was terrible. It honestly
Yeah.
was. I actually feel really, really embarrassed saying these things. It's humiliating because I wasn't nice. I was the worst neighbour in the world. But now I think I'd really struggle if I had any noise around me. I'm one of them people, I don't live in the middle of nowhere now, but I will be going to live in the middle of nowhere in isolation, growing my own vegetables, you know,
Yes.
away from the world and my own
Mm.
little Zen compound. But I really don't like noise because a lot of the time I don't have any TV on. If I had music on, it would be like yoga meditation music, you know. My whole life has changed. So for me now, I'm not okay with it. But
Yeah.
I understand that when people are that way, it's a matter of, it's not because they don't respect other people, because, well, maybe to a degree it is, but it's their level of perception. This is my home, I do what I want.
Yeah.
And they're, I don't know if I would call it selfish or just, it's a lack of awareness and consideration for other people, because we are behaving, like you say, energetically. If we've got stuff going on with us, like when I was younger, I had a lot of trauma, I went through a lot of bad things. So I wanted loud music on. I wanted lots of friends around because I didn't like being alone. I didn't like being in quiet because there was a lot of things in my mind that I had to learn to deal with. And at one point, I actually was viciously attacked by an ex-boyfriend who broke into my house and he cut all of my hair off with an 8-inch carving knife. So after that, I was frightened to be alone for 2-3 years. And that's when I was having loud music friends around all the time because I was petrified he may come back, you know. So for me, that's one of the things. So because I went through that trauma internally and I was in that emotional state, having people around was me providing safety for myself, when now my level of perception is my safe haven is my quiet haven, where my mind can be quiet and think and relax, and I can, you know, process my thoughts. Now I process my thoughts being in quiet, whereas before I couldn't process my thoughts because my mind wasn't open enough. I wasn't aware of what was going on inside of me. I didn't understand the mind, but now I do, which is why, it's great that we coach people to get out of these situations. So it was my mindset that needed changing, because it was all about me.
Yeah.
But it was not about me putting me first, as in, I'm going to make noise if I want to and be a bad neighbor. It was me, how can I put it? It was me not dealing with what was going on inside of me. We always have to change ourselves. It's always about us. What does it mean to and about us? Who are we as people? But I used external things to try and soothe and calm the trauma that I'd been through. Whereas now I understand I can't use it. It's like when people have alcohol abuse, drug abuse, anything like that, things like that. For me, I now understand that it's all about me creating that calm place in my mind. So now quiet is very important to me, because that's when I'm able to meditate and do my yoga and do all the things that calm my mind. Then I can become aware, acknowledge, and surrender to it and release it, and then these things go away. I have no trouble releasing stuff, whereas when I surrounded myself with lots of noise before, I stayed angry, I stayed resentful, I stayed in fear, guilt, shame, all of these, the feeling of being alone, all these horrible feelings I had, they stayed because I wasn't quieting my mind. And I know now you have become ultra zen, therefore your quiet time is even more important to you now. So I can understand that it's almost like you're like, what the hell's going on with my neighbours? But I must say, you've got some neighbours that just move furniture all day long, bang on the walls. Like it's almost like the young version of me is living next door to you. But they're playing good music though, is what I want to know.
No, that's the problem.
Oh, that's even worse.
Usually the people who have loud music on, they're the people who listen to like rap or some shit music that I don't want to listen to. Put some Beyonce all day, I'll dance to it. You know what I mean? But you can't. So I understand exactly what you mean. It's not about being selfish, but because we are all individuals. And I understand. I was like that when I was in London. When I was in London and we had house parties, especially when I was a heavy drinker, I'd always be like, fuck it, fuck the neighbors. We're having a party. They should understand. But the difference is, whenever, even before I was Zen, I always, every time I organized a party, I always printed a note for my neighbors saying, I'm having a party that day. This is my phone number. You are invited to come to the party. If you're not coming, here's my phone number. Text me.
That nice.
And
You're a good neighbor.
I've always done that. I still do it if I'm having people over, because I think it's the minimum. But it is not just even. I can understand that as individuals we need our alone time, our own time, or with friends, without taking into consideration other people that we don't know about, strangers. And I can understand that, but that's kind of oblivious to the fact that you're living in a community. Because when you're in a city, you in a community, the other people around you are there. It's inevitable. If tomorrow I start putting my music loud, and that same neighbor will come and knock on my door. But it doesn't necessarily have to be when we're indoors. I am thinking about sometimes we like to go with some friends to the river. It's nice and peaceful, and I like the sound of birds and trees and the shade, and it's amazing. But there's always that person who needs to bring the sound system and play music. First of all, it always has that it's that rap sort of music. I think the people
worst type.
I know. I mean, I think Zen people don't need music all the time. And so there's always that person who needs to have the music on. And so I'm not arguing, but I was debating.
It's a distraction. It is a distraction.
Yeah, I was debating the fact that if we're going into nature, why not enjoy the sounds of nature around us? So what is it that you are avoiding with music? Are you afraid of the moments of silence between us? Because that's okay, it's okay to be silent. So I don't understand, is there a psychological need for constant TV, constant music, constant noise, constant or I know that I realize that I realize that issue is mainly mine, because as people would say, if you don't like the sound of neighbors, go live in the countryside, which is what I'm doing. It's a decision, it's a conscious decision that I'm doing, because I know I'll never be able to stop it. Moving away from this flat to another flat will not remove the problem, because I will always have neighbors. So I am very, very sensitive. I've been diagnosed with crippling anxiety. Like, it's an actual psychiatrical condition. I need medicine for it. I refuse to take meds at the moment, but I'm followed by a psychiatrist, and it's something that is really crippling me. But I also understand that other people that don't have anxiety to my level may be bothered by this. So I really want to shout out to everybody, and to make sure that we all understand that even though you need that moment of with your friends and or your family and a bit of music, you need to keep considering that you have people around you. Now, my friends, so the friends in London I lived with, the last people I lived with, we the ones that we had parties in the flat and we screamed, they were like, ah, fuck the neighbors, whatever. Now these people, years later, we meet in the house. Now we're in France together, but our parties are different. We sit around the table, we have dinner, we play games, we have music, but the music is loud enough so we can hear it, but it's slow enough so we don't pay attention to it. We use it as a background noise, and we're not distracted by it, and so we can have conversations like this. Because, for example, the new neighbors now, the music is so loud that they are shouting over each other to talk. I'm like, I don't find this peaceful at all, having to shout to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So I think in life we can still have a really great time by taking it down a notch. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like me and you. So I laughed because we were discussing this yesterday, and we was talking about people that go out in nature and then take like some music with them, and we called them nature haters. Was our new
Yes.
hashtag.
Hashtag nature hater.
Haters. But what I was going to say, this just proves the level of perception. So me and you, look, you're in the Amazon rainforest. I know that's from one of your lovely photos that you actually took when you was living in the rainforest.
I did.
Years. And this is me. Everyone knows I'm like the universal girl, the energetic girl now. So, I would rather be up in the universe, up in space. You'd rather be in the Amazon than be around neighbours. This is why we had these cool little things behind us today we were joking about before we came on. But this is how my level of perception has changed. When I was younger, screw the neighbours, this is my house, I do what I want in my house. Whereas now I'm like, I don't want other people's noise. And I do live in an apartment block, but my neighbours are very, very quiet. So I now decided I'd come and live somewhere where the neighbours were quiet. However, sorry, I've got this all the wrong way round. I meant to say something else and I've gone into another conversation. But so my level of perceptions has now changed. Even though I love the countryside and I want to live in the middle of nowhere with nobody around me and listen to the birds sing, it's the people that don't have respect for their neighbours that should go and live in the middle of nowhere. Then they can do whatever the hell they want.
Yes.
It's all about that changing. So because I like peace and quiet, I now want to live away from people and away from noise. And but if I look back at my younger self, my behavior really wasn't acceptable, but that was what was who I was at the time, and we all change, we all evolve, we all grow up, and we all, for me, I've been on a massive healing journey. If I wouldn't have kind of healed the parts of me that went through the trauma, I probably still would live like that and have that really bad attitude, not caring about, but the truth was, at that time, in that moment when I was doing that, it's because I didn't care about me. I didn't care about me. Because if I cared about me, I wouldn't, be having loads of people back to my house, having parties. I would have, home to me now is such a place that it is sacred to me, and it never used to be. I didn't like being at home alone. I had this issue with it, but I had lots of things going on in my mind, and I had a lot of stuff that was there that wasn't great. But now I want to go live in the middle of nowhere because I love nature, and everyone laughs at me, and like you, everyone, like my family, they all say, why do you want to live in isolation? I said, oh, because I love quiet, I want to listen to the birds sing. But really, for my level of perception now is I want to do that. However, the people that don't have respect for neighbours should choose not to live around neighbours, because it's all about, we always have to, rather than blame other people for other things, we have to look inside of us. Why is it triggering us? But for you where you live in the city and you're in an apartment block. If your neighbours are noisy, you have no alternative to move, because they're not gonna just see it from your level of perception, even though we'd like them to. Like if I was your neighbour now and I live there, you'd have peace and quiet. You'd probably be saying, are you all right in there?
Is she
No,
dead?
are you alive?
I'd smell through the door.
Because I'm quiet as a mouse. But
yeah.
but the thing is, I now remove myself from situations that are noisy, because I don't want to be in them, because that's not who I am anymore. But the noisy people are never going to, noisy people in general, in their mind, they have stuff going on in there that they don't want to deal with, which is why they surround themselves with lots of TV, lots of loud music, lots of, I call it electronic smog, and always have to be around people. It's lovely to be sociable, but a lot of people can't deal with being alone. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a real, it's actually a bit of a strong subject, today, because it really does go into what's going on inside of a person. What makes someone behave in a way that they don't respect the fact that you're living next door and you've already said, oh, can you turn the music down? Like you say, it's not because it's late or early on a Sunday. It's the fact that I live here, and maybe what I like to do is sit in quiet and read a book.
Yeah.
And now I can't, even if it's a Monday afternoon and you're making noise, even in the daytime, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not allowing me to do what I like to do, and this is my home, and I should feel comfortable, safe, and happy here. So it's really, really difficult, actually.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's a tough subject, and it's very subjective also to other people. And you put your finger on something that I've been telling my sister, and I keep talking about my sister in every podcast. I mention my sister, but because I know a lot of people who who watch the news every day without fault, without missing one day. News, following the news, following the RSPCA, following, and so they're constantly exposed to the horrors that the world around us outside has to offer, even though the world has never been safer. Like 200 years ago, we don't burn witches anymore. There are no more world wars. The world is safer than it was before. But still, what I agree with you. What I do now is that my home, when I'm indoors, it's my safe place. It's my cocoon. I want to feel warm. That's the point of. We've spent thousands of years perfecting indoors because outdoors is not safe. So I know that when I step out, I'll be exposed to the news. People at work will tell me what's going on. I can, I see it. I know it. I'm aware of it. So when I'm inside my house, I do not need to watch the news. Do not need to scroll. It's for me, it's tragedy porn. When you're constantly, and I have friends who tell me, "Oh, I cry at least once a day when I'm on Instagram because I see this and that and animal treatment and all that." I'm like, "Why are you doing this? This is tragedy porn." As if by reading all about it, you're protecting yourself. No. So for me, when I'm inside my home, warm and safe, I want comedy. I want to laugh. I want to sleep. I want peace. I want comfort. And so first of all, people who are watching this, if you're addicted to tragedy porn, try and not do it. Stop with the news. Get it from somewhere else. You cannot avoid the news. People will force it on you. You'll always have someone who sends you WhatsApp and says, "Oh, have you seen this?" Even though you know I don't want to see it. But that's
everyone knows with me. Don't tell me about what you watch on TV unless it's RuPaul's Drag Race.
Thank you very much. Oh,
yeah. But
Join
I
my
love it, babe. What do you call it? Tongue pop?
Yeah. Yeah, you're doing it well. Shout out to Elisa Edwards.
But yeah, I don't, you know me, I never watch TV. And I I just, me as a person, my mind has changed, my whole level of perception has
Yeah.
changed. Yeah, it's really, when I look back at how I used to be in many ways, but at the time, I would have known it was wrong, my behaviour, but I just didn't care. I didn't care about how other people felt because do you know what? I had a serious lack of self-love and self-worth for my own self back then. So I didn't care. I don't want people coming in my house, drinking, partying now, you know. I'm like, even my little dog, bless him. I have a dog that doesn't bark. He's 8 years old. I've heard him bark like 10 times. I actually thought there was something wrong with him until he was about 8 months old. I kept saying, I haven't heard him bark. Do you think I don't want a barking dog? But I was like, when he barked, I was like, oh, he barked. There's nothing wrong with him. I thought he was like had something wrong with him and he couldn't
Yeah.
bark, like he couldn't make any noise. It was
It was
really
vocal
bizarre. But
cords.
even if you know, we were talking the other day, we were doing yoga and I was out in my garden and where I live, they were draining the swimming pool to fix some of the tiles that had broken, ready for it to open back up next week. And there was some local guys that were working in the pool. And I remember you saying, what's that noise? I was like, I
Mm.
know. What is the noise? They were playing music, they were shouting, and I was thinking, everybody lives around here. Why do you think it's okay to do that? But I can't go and say anything to them because that's what they do. They're at work, they're putting on some music, they want to get on with their day. And I
There's
was
nothing
thinking,
wrong with that.
but we're doing yoga. I nearly actually went over and said, do you mind being quiet? Because I'm doing yoga for half now. But I thought, I can't. They're at work. They probably don't even like their job, but they just want to get through the day.
Yeah.
So they're listening to a bit of music to get them through the day, or they're having a conversation, you know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, they're gone now, though, anyway.
Yeah,
Yippee!
good, nice. And the swimming pool is ready. But you know, there is nothing wrong with that. And this is why whenever I had a party, I would always print out and warn my neighbors because I don't mind if you're having a party.
You're
Let
so
me,
nice, Dave. You're
yeah,
so
because I
organised.
think it's just because I'm nice. Like if you're having a party, let me know so I can plan around it. So I am aware. Because imagine suddenly I'm reading my book and at 10 o'clock, boom, boom. I'm like, first of all, I'll have an anxiety attack because I wasn't ready for it. For me, like they're next door, the building next door, they are building something. They're building flats inside. I don't know what they're doing, but
Yeah,
they're constantly hammering. You know what? These people have the right. They are working, they're paid to
yeah,
work, and I'm absolutely fine with that. My problem is the owner of the building who commissioned those people to work in the building did not warn me ahead, tell me that we will be building, we will be drilling, we will start that day, we will finish that day. Because of that, because I'm not aware of this, it's giving me anxiety. I'm angry at the not at the builders, for them. It's not their problem. It's the owner, and it's the same.
mm,
It's easy to just put a note in my post box. You know, just say it. Warn me. If the city warns us when they're going to do works, why don't you? Especially when you know you're going to drill through holes for weeks. It's been 2 weeks now. So
mm.
it's the same when you do a party. If you're gonna have friends over and loud music, don't come and knock on my door. I will not answer. But put a note in my post box and say, okay, um, we will have a party that day. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. And I will plan around it. I'll go somewhere
Yeah.
else. I'll put my headphones. I will be aware. And in here, I will no, I will be warned, and it's my problem if I don't plan around it. You know, I just want to be made aware. That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if I'm ever gonna have a party again, which now that I'm sober, I don't want people around anymore unless it's for tea. But I will always make sure that I want people around me because I think it's the nicest thing you can do. New
Yeah.
neighbor, there's the new guy who just moved in. I saw him moving in. I stopped and I said, "Hey, my name is. If you need anything, let me know." I told him I am a quiet person. I expect quiet. He said I'm quiet too, and he is quiet. And I said, "Please come and knock on my door if you need anything. Cup of sugar, sort of cliche, you know. But let's just don't hesitate to
Coffee,
come.
sugar,
Know what I
tea
mean?
bag.
If you need anything." And I think it's having a good relationship with your neighbors when you live in a community is very important.
Yeah.
And I try, and usually the nice people are the ones that are quiet. I have two direct neighbors in my building. Well, I've got three of them. Two of them I have met. I've We've introduced each other. I'm actually giving English classes to one of them. She's brilliant.
No.
She's a brilliant biologist, and she's not as quiet as I would want her to be.
Yeah.
But because we are friends, and when I know that it's her noise, I'm chilled about it because I know that she's nice and she doesn't do it on
Yeah.
purpose. We discussed it like adults about the noises, and the one that I tried so hard to make friends with and who refused is the one with the loud music every Friday, and is the disrespectful one, the one who doesn't want to be friends with neighbors. So you see, I think
Yeah.
there is a pattern here that oh, I'm gonna need to study this. I'm gonna call the ethics board and see if I can do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's a vast subject, and we can touch on anything. But
Mm.
I think it's a good start for people who are watching this to start thinking about the noise
Of
they
course,
potentially
you're
make.
you're either that neighbour who's really nice and respectful and very quiet, or you're that neighbour that's an absolute, like me when I was younger. I'm not gonna be embarrassed about it now because that was who I was. That's not who I am today. However, my behaviour was atrocious. It was horrific. Like, I had no respect for my neighbours, but I didn't have any respect for my neighbours because I didn't have any respect for myself then, and that's a weird thing. Like, I never would have said that about myself until recently, but I now know I wasn't caring about myself.
Yeah,
Home to me is such a special place now that
yeah,
um it's my place where I'm safe. I've had a lot of stuff go on. I'm almost 40 now. I'll be 40 in June, and for a lot of my life, I've had a lot of crazy stuff going on. And now it's almost like when I come home, I feel safe, I feel happy, I feel comfortable. And anyone dare messes my mojo, my zen up, they're going to have a big issue. Because
yeah,
I actually, I think I'd go a bit nuts if someone moved in next door to me and did that. But, because I do keep consciously moving to places that are quiet now,
yeah,
because that's who I am. So I need to, this is going back to, was it our first podcast? You can't outgrow a bad environment.
yeah,
So the more you're learning to be calm and zen, and people say, oh, just deal with it, and you need to learn to deal with your neighbors or deal with your family, deal with these people. No, it's now,
no,
you understand, it's now time for you to move, because
yeah,
your lovely neighbors might move out and you might have a whole apartment block full of people that are just absolute assholes. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And then what? And then you've taken 10 steps forwards in your healing journey and your new life. And then all of a sudden you'll take 50 steps back because you'll be angry,
yeah,
resentful, um, feeling pissed off, feeling annoyed, and then you'll get upset and you'll get agitated, and then your mental health is affected, your emotional health is affected, then your physical health is affected.
yes,
I remember in January when I was starting a 90-day fitness challenge, you was like, I'm up for doing it, but you was like, I live in an apartment block, so I really can't jump around too much because,
yeah.
it's not respectful to my neighbours. But now we're doing
The ones
yoga and it's something where we're
downstairs.
just
Yeah,
kind of on our mat and there's no banging around or jumping. That works for you, and you said yes to it, and you've absolutely fallen in
yeah,
love with it. But now the more zen you're becoming, the more this is going to affect you. So it's really great that it's about now, as we change inside of us and we change, we have to then create new environments, move to new environments, create new friendships. We need to, we always change, evolve and grow in life, and that's what's happening to me and you. It happens to
yeah,
everybody. So I think that anybody that's watching this, I think when we first discussed this subject and we were going to talk about neighbours and how if they're noisy and disrespectful, it can create anxiety. It seemed like it was going to be quite a little subject because we actually agreed, I will only talk about it for 20 minutes, half an hour when I film another podcast. But it's actually been really interesting, and I think
yeah,
people need to take note and listen to this, because you're either one or the other, and it's all about taking responsibility for
yes,
yourself and your actions. So that, yeah.
agreed.
Anyways,
That's the thing.
anything else to say on this subject, babe?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the you got the point. When I want to work out, but I told you I cannot do certain workouts because I was conscious that I don't want to disturb my downstairs neighbor. I think that's an amazing thing that I did. I don't mean to be that
Oh,
guy, but
you're
I
such
am
a nice
tailoring.
guy.
I know I'm tailoring at the moment. I am tailoring my journey through healing based on my neighbor's needs, and I think it's great. And I think people should do that. Look at what you just said it again. I took 50 steps towards my healing journey, but the other day at 10:30 p.m. there was so much banging on the other walls on I don't know where it came from, that I took my
I remember
rubber
you
my
messaged me
rubber
and told
hammer and my
me.
mallet, and I knocked and I knocked and I shouted, and I had to break down. And so
Yeah.
it it broke some of the healing that I
Mm,
did. It took me back
yeah.
10 steps,
The thing
and
is
I
as well,
really felt pain.
in that
Yeah.
moment, because I remember you messaged me, you was like, babe, and I was like, okay, so when we are angry, this is a great point as well, because in that moment it made you really angry.
Ugh.
But the way we kind of then move past this is when we are angry, it's not affecting them. They don't care. They're already making noise. You banging on the wall, they're probably going, oh, look, they're banging on the wall. Let's make some noise.
Well,
Because believe you me,
yeah.
that's who I used to be.
Do you
I
know
was
what the
all,
response was? They banged back as a
yeah, that's what
response.
I used to do. Yeah. But the thing is, then you're being made to react to this because it's upsetting you. But then when you're angry, it's not affecting them, it's affecting you. So this is why we always say when something bothers us, what does that mean to me and about me? When I'm getting triggered or upset by something, what does that mean to me and about me? You now know this creates anxiety, this is no good for me, my emotional, my mental health, my physical health. So I'm now going to take responsibility for me, and I'm going to move into the countryside because this can't happen. And the only noise that can be there is the birds, nature, and me,
Yeah, exactly. Before I do something rash, you know what? I think this is. Thank God I don't have a dragon. I know why Daenerys burned the entire city.
Is
Maybe
it, what does she
someone was
say?
playing some French
Dracoris.
rap.
Dracoris. How do you
Yeah,
say?
Dracarys. Maybe someone was playing some
Dracoris.
French rap, and she was like, "Nope,
Yeah.
I'm not having this," and she burned the city. Maybe that's why. So before I do something rash with my
Burn the
neighbors,
whole city to the ground.
yeah, before I burn Montpellier to the
Mother
ground,
of
go to
dragons.
the countryside. But
Floneris, I'm going to call you Floneris
yeah,
Targaryen.
bitch, that's my drag name,
Love
anyways.
it. Yeah,
Oh,
love it. Oh.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, guys. So in the comments, if you want to share some of the anecdotes that you've had to the ordeals that you've gone through with your neighbors, and don't hesitate. And please, just be aware that you're not the only ones going through this. A lot
Mhm.
of people go through this nightmare, so you're not alone. So if you want to share, you know, I'm some evenings when I can't sleep, I will be on social media. If you want to, post a message on our page and say, "Oh, I can't sleep. I'm getting angry. My neighbors are making noise." One of us will read that message and we'll send you. We can chat a little to to ease you. Because what
Yeah.
I do now is I live with my
Yeah.
headphones. I put my meditation music on. I fall asleep with it, and it calms me. So don't hesitate to reach out when you have these issues, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do as well was just very quickly before we go, I've so enjoyed it as per usual, my lovely. Another banging podcast. What I was going to say is next week we have got one of our other coaches coming on, Sharon Jules. She is phenomenal. She lives in the Costa del Sol in Spain, and she is part of our tribe, the Soul Power Tribe. She's going to be coming on as a guest, so I'm really excited about that. And we're going to be talking about alcohol addictions and how mindfulness yoga and learning holistic practices can really learning holistic practices and making them part of your daily life can really be of use when you are on this journey. I know, Flo, next week you're going to be 3 months sober.
Yeah.
Sharon has got a lot of experience. She works with a place called I think the Phoenix Lodge or the Phoenix Center down in the Costa del Sol, and that's people that she teaches meditation and mindfulness to people that struggle with addictions. And for me, I am the daughter of my biological father, who has passed away now. he was a real a serious alcoholic and a drug addict. So I am the daughter of someone. So I basically suffered my father's own self-abuse, which was part of the trauma that I experienced when I was younger, and he lived like that until the day he died, sadly, which is one of the things that drove me to becoming in the health and fitness industry, the holistic industry, the coaching industry. And so we've got a lot to speak about next week, and it is going to be phenomenal. So make sure you stay tuned, guys.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Sharon is amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Sorry, I didn't let you talk much then, but I was so excited about it because next week's podcast is going to be a really, really good one. So, if often in life, if we haven't experienced any alcohol and drug addiction ourselves, we know someone who has, or either it's friends or family, and it's all about, again, learning to heal the mind, because we have these addictions because we have bad mental health, emotional health, and we've been through trauma and all sorts of things in life. So we're going to be really talking about that in depth. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, if you have any questions pre-podcast, send them to us, and we will be happy to answer them during the call.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Pixie and Flo. Bye.
Bye.
Love you, darling. Bye, guys. Bye. Tongue pump. We didn't do the funny dance. I'm at the wall. You can't see it because I'm in space right now, but I can't move my hands.
It's the arms now. I'm armless.
All right. I love you, darling. Take care. See you soon. Bye.